the proper way to prepare for a fire. When you start a fire, you want to have three basic things. You want to have kindling. That's for lighting the fire, something to catch the spark to give you the first flame. When you get the first flame, that's when you can start to build on, put more kindling on it, maybe some bigger twigs or whatever you have available. But basically, there's three parts to a fire. There's kindling, there's your medium fuel source, if you will. You can't just light a couple of leaves or maybe some moss or whatever you have that can take a spark pretty easily. You can't just light that and then drop bigger logs on it and expect the fire to, no, it'll die out. So what you have to do is you have to build up. Best way to do that, prepare. Before you ever go to strike your first spark on your fire stick, prepare. Have your kindling ready. Have more than you think you'll need, because you always need more. So have your kindling ready. And then make sure, like I said, you have your medium fuel source. So kindling, I'll do wood shavings, or I'll do moss, or if I bring my own fire starter, I'll do that, just to get the spark to take and to start your first little flame. But once you get your first flame, you have to have some stuff, twigs, just like this, small stuff, but plenty of it, that you can stick on top of that fire. That'll burn a little bit longer than kindling, or a little bit longer than some leaves. And then once you get this, you gotta have plenty of it. You just gotta make sure the flame keeps growing. But in order to keep it growing, you can't douse it with too much fuel. You can't put too many pieces of wood on it, because then you'll choke it out. So it's really not complicated, and maybe I'm overcomplicating it, but this has helped me. I went camping with my buddies, and they're always like, let's start a fire, and they just start throwing stuff on it, and sure enough, 5-10 minutes later, fire's dead, and we're all huffing and puffing because we've been running around grabbing handfuls of leaves trying to dump it on the fire to keep it going. And if you would just take 5 or 10 minutes to really prepare your fire before you start it, then you can start your fire, get it going, and have a fire that'll last you the rest of the night. And all you have to do is be patient and prepare. The number one thing to fire is preparation. If you prepare for your fire, you will always have a good one. It's a science. There's no maybe, possibly. If you prepare for your fire, you will always have one. So that's what I'm going to teach you guys today. And with that, let's get started. This stuff works great. It's small, it's thin enough to take a flame, it's light enough to burn quickly, it's dry, it's really good stuff. There's plenty of it around here, easy to manipulate, easy to make into what you need it to be. So what I do, I just get it in chunks. Take a little bit, break it off again, maybe a little bit more. You want it maybe, the way I usually do it is about 6-inch pieces of kindling, whether it's twigs, whether it's some sort of, I don't know what this is, weed, if you will, a type of weed, or just some sort of, maybe, I think it's like cattails, something near that, grows near creek beds. But you just break it up into small sections, something that's easy to manipulate, something you can have plenty of, doesn't take a ton of time to collect. You can grab 5 or 6 big strands and just keep breaking them down. You'll get plenty and plenty of kindling. So the second part of your fire, and it takes, I don't know, maybe a minute, 2 minutes. But having this is what allows you to be able to put bigger pieces of wood that are going to burn longer and burn hotter onto your fire. So you just break that up. As you can see here, I've got a handful of kindling now. Stuff is pretty good. Super easy. 30 seconds, don't waste a ton of time, don't waste a ton of energy. It's all you really need. So we'll set that there. All right, and then we'll get our bigger logs here in a second. Let me grab my saw out of here. And another thing I love is camping equipment, camping gear. Some of my favorite stuff. It's just fun. It's enjoyable to me. It's what I like to spend my money on. So, leather gloves, super easy. I like them. I like them honestly because I know cowboys use them. I love cowboys. Obviously, I'm not a certified cowboy by any means, but I do really enjoy leather gloves. They're super durable. keep you really warm in the winter, even though there's not a whole lot of material to them. Philosophy I kind of have is, if people have been using these kind of things for thousands of years, that's probably because they work. So I try not to go, you know, a lot of times I won't go for a lot of the newer gear or whatever. Not because I think it's bad, not because I don't think it works, but simply because leather gloves are cheap. You can find them anywhere. They last forever. And they're also really good when you deal with fire. Newer synthetic gloves, neoprene, nylon, all that stuff, you can't handle it close to fire because that material will melt really quickly. A good pair of leather gloves, they'll last you a long time. You can do any kind of work in them. And if you need to, if you got to grab or move a piece of firewood or move a burning piece of wood, you can grab it real quick and it's not really going to do much damage to your leather gloves. So that's why I use leather gloves. Firewood, there's another piece. What I was saying about those beavers and the way they eat the wood is they've got these real big front teeth, big buck teeth looking front teeth. And what those do, that's how they chew. They gnaw on this piece of wood, kind of like, I mean, really, you can think of it like using an axe. Instead, they just use their teeth and they take small chunks out and they chew all the way around the tree. As you can see here, they chew all the way around until they get to the center, and then it just topples over. It's actually really cool. It's one of the coolest things. I don't know. I think it's really awesome the way they do it. These tiny little animals can spend a couple hours chewing at a tree and take down a big tree, just like, you know, like an axeman or a feller would. So I think it's pretty cool just to observe some of the ways that the Lord created animals to do what they do, for beavers, cut down trees, whatever it may be. I just think it's awesome. So I learned that a long time ago, and I've always thought it was really cool, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. I actually don't think it, well, it looks like, yeah, it looks like a beaver took that tree down. Yeah, definitely this one here, like I was talking about. You can see, so they'll come, they'll start on the outside, and they'll gnaw their way all around it, working inwards, until either if it's a leaning tree, obviously you don't gotta cut it completely in half in order for it to topple over. Once the weight is too strong for whatever's left of the tree, it'll just pull itself over. But you can see there how they gnaw. They'll just take little chunks, shavings out of the tree, bite by bite, and to start a fire. It's pretty difficult to start fires in the wind, but I like to take it as a challenge and see if I can do it anyway. Again, if it was a survival situation, this is what I would have to do. So I try to recreate those scenarios in my mind or whatever. So as you can see, make it easy for you guys, kind of did it backwards, but in the middle we've got something to take a spark. On the left, our kindling. And then on the right, we've got our big logs. That's the big fuel. That's what we're going to put on at the end. So we start a spark, let it start to come to a flame. As soon as it comes to a flame, start building those guys onto it. And then once you got that, all those guys on it and catching a good flame, then you can start to put your bigger logs on, and bam, you got yourself a fire. So let me set you guys back up, and we'll do this thing. Me personally, like I said, honestly, I don't use gloves often. When I do, I use leather gloves, but I don't know. I've always been a bigger fan of being able to use my hands. They just more, you got more technical ability with them, and it's a little more difficult to do those finer mechanical skills with gloves on. So I try to just do it like this. So I just take the dry grass, bundle it up, kind of leave it a little bit of a hole in the middle. That helps for the spark coming off of the ferro rod to kind of sit in it instead of falling out of it. I do it that way. So you just take your, this is a Maracniv, man, I don't remember the name of it. It's about a $20, $30 knife on Amazon. Maracniv is a knife company I love. I love them because it's good Swedish steel. It's a fantastic knife. They come razor sharp. They hold an edge forever, and they're really decently cheap. I've got a Mora Garberg. That's their best knife they offer. It's about $100. I didn't even get one for probably 3 years into my camping excursions because this works so well for me. So you don't need to buy an expensive knife to have a good quality knife. You just need to know what to look for. And for me, Maracniv, or Mora, a lot of people call them, works great. You don't need to do other stuff. You don't need to pay extra money. If you're just trying to get into it, this is a great knife to start with. I love knives. I love more expensive knives. I don't have a ton of them, but I do love them. I think they're awesome. I love knives in general. They're a hobby of mine as well. I've never really had the money to spend on them, so I haven't. But Maracniv is awesome. I love them. They're great. They're super sharp, super durable. They don't rust. I've had this thing for about 5 years, and it looks just as good as it did when I bought it. So what I like to do when I'm starting or striking my ferro rod, set your rod onto the stuff. Don't hold it above it. It's too hard to try and play with it while both things are moving. I like to kind of hold the stuff down, whatever you're using, whether it's kindling, fire, but whatever. Hold it down with your ferro rod and then strike the spark into it with your knife. So watch me. Now, a lot of you are probably gonna go, well, what the heck, why aren't you using the back of your knife? This doesn't have a great 90-degree edge on the back side of it, which is the best for striking a spark on ferro rod. So I use the blade. Probably not the best idea, probably dull out your knife faster, but I tend to do it that way just because it works better for me. I've got other knives I can use, and I've got a great way to sharpen knives that really doesn't take long at all. So it's not the biggest deal to me if I might dull it out a little bit. So you just set it on, start striking it. Sometimes you really got to bunch it together to get it to hold, and you just start striking. As you can see, I've already got a spark there. Lost it a little bit, it was too far on top. So we'll just try again. As you can see, you got a flame. Maybe you can't see it, but it's there. So once you got the flame going like that, don't lose your fire stick. Set some kindling on top of it. Something that's going to take that flame. And then just give it some air, blow it. Once you catch a flame, just keep building it up nice and slow. Make sure you don't drown it. By drown it, I simply mean put too much wood on top that you can't get good airflow through it. Just kind of build you a nice little teepee. Set your wood on top of it. Bam. Got a fire going. And probably 10 minutes total to gather the kindling, explain everything that I'm doing, go find some grass out in the brush, and voila, you got a fire pit. I didn't have to be running around to get any fuel, go anywhere, do anything. I had it all set in a proper place because what? Because I prepared. Preparation is the key to a good fire. If you will prepare for your fire, man, it makes it so much easier. And then once you light it, you're good to go.